Honestly, the most frustrating thing about the trade deadline, not the fact that only one trade went down, but it was the fact that I waited until Tuesday to record this whenever I was originally going to do it on my day off on Monday. But then I realized, oh, wait, the trade deadline's tomorrow. We're probably going to trade a lot of people. So I should be on alert for that. And, well, I guess not. We didn't trade anybody apart from Ernest Jones, which was a very good trade, but we're going to get into that in just a second. But we got to start with the intro. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the small stuff that happened at the trade deadline. We're going to be talking about week 9 and how that went, talking about what we need to do in the bye week to maybe get this team to stay competitive just like we did this week. Like, look, this is one of those games where, like, I'm not that mad at it, and we'll get into, like, why I'm not that mad at it, and, um, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to get into, and, of course, we're going to wrap it up with my favorite head coaching candidates, with a new honorable mention, and just, other things we got to talk about. So, anyway, let's get into this episode, starting out with Cam Ward. No, wait, hold on. The trade deadline. We got to get into that. Okay, so we traded Ernest Jones for a fifth. That could end up being a fourth. Let's talk about this trade just real quick. I thought it was a very good trade. Ernest Jones, he had been kind of coming alive over the past week or two, or a couple of weeks, but it wasn't like he was world beating or anything. And it wasn't like, he had increased his trade value as much as I think that some teams thought he did. Like, look, he did increase it to a fifth, maybe even a fourth. I was expecting to get a seventh out of him, maybe even a sixth. I put that in reverse for a reason. But still, like, I was expecting something like that for value. But we got a fifth, maybe even a fourth out of him. I really, really like that value for Ernest Jones. But you've probably heard that. Let's see, what other trades have we got? Oh, wait. That was it. That was the only trade that the Titans made over the deadline. Obviously, there was a little buzz about, maybe Jeffrey Simmons getting traded. That was kind of generated by me. Sorry, Titans fans, to panic y'all in any sort of way. I was not expecting that post to just be as huge as it was. Like, I had a lot of people just in that comment section, just reposting it, quoting it, all this stuff. Like, I was honestly kind of stressed with how much there was. And I was just thinking, man, this isn't going to happen. And I'm going to look so stupid. Like, it was just funny. I got a lot of the fan base riled up because of that. But, or maybe not a lot, but it was just funny to see the ripple effect. Because, again, I wasn't expecting the post to be that big. But anyway, there still were some murmurings about Big Jeff after he posted on his story about, like, hey, is there a chance that Borgo decided to send him to, like, the Cowboys or the Bears or something like that for 2 firsts or something like that? The Jets lived what we were trying to do today, by the way, like, with how they trade Quinnen Williams for 2 first-round picks. Again, that's the only way that I would let go of Big Jeff, so it makes sense. Same thing with Sauce. Like, my gosh, they're going to have so many first-round picks. Perfect for us to trade down with. But anyway, that's not what we're getting into today. Again, hoping for that first pick. We really need to lose to the Saints, and I think that we will, just because I think the Saints are a better football team. But that's beside the point. Yeah, no, I really am not as upset, though, as some people are about this trade deadline. Not because of the fact that we didn't trade more people. Like, obviously, it's unacceptable if we got trade calls for guys like Tony Pollard, or T'Vondre Sweat even, or Chigakonkwo, and we didn't field those offers, right? Like, if we did get calls about those guys and we were getting, like, offered fourths, fifths, sixths, then I would be a little upset. I would be like, hey, why? Why are we not trading these guys? But again, I don't think that many people really want Tennessee Titans. Like, obviously, from our fans' perspective, we're just like, oh, Tony Pollard's a big name, and we like watching Chig and T'Vondre Sweat. He's young. Like, we look at all these guys and we value them a lot more in our heads than any NFL fan would. Like, we say that Tony Pollard may be worth a fifth. In reality, he's probably not worth much. I don't even think somebody would call for him. We think that T'Vondre Sweat is worth a fourth. In reality, he's probably worth a fifth or a sixth. Just not a big position of need for most teams because it's not really that important. Chigakonko we think is worth a fourth. Yeah, get out of here. Right? Like, these guys just aren't as valuable as we think of them to be. That is why that not that much happened on the trade deadline. Like, a lot of people think that this was terrible, and I get the idea behind that, but I just don't think it was that bad. And getting on into the game, we're going to start out with Cam Ward before we get into the positives and negatives. Cam Ward went 12 for 21 for about 140. And here's the thing. In my opinion, I think Cam was robbed of a really good game. We'll get into why later. But, like, I don't know. Like, there were some bad moments, don't get me wrong. Like, I remember Cam had, like, a weird bobbled snap moment, and he had Van Jefferson wide open for a first down, and he threw it in the dirt. Again, some people tried to say that was his hands. I don't believe that for a second, honestly. I personally believe that the reason that Cam didn't get that throw well is because of that footwork. The footwork, again, it looked like a shortstop. I remember hearing that quote from somebody else, but I just remember thinking to myself, man, well, like, it wasn't good footwork. It made all the difference in that throw, in my opinion. I do not think that it was because of his hands that he did not make that throw. Just personal opinion. Like, it was just really upsetting to watch because there were missed opportunities like that, obviously, but then there were other specific moments that, you felt like, oh gosh, that could have been so much better. That could have ended up looking really good for Cam. But then there were also other moments where you're just like, oh gosh, like the dropped interception, he threw it into double coverage. Like, look, I need people to think about this. That is one of the best defenses in the league. Not as in it is one of the best defenses talent-wise in the league. It's one of the best defensive units in the league schematically. Just absolute genius stuff going on with their defensive coordinator, whose name won't go mentioned until later on in the video for obvious reasons. But let's just say he had a pretty good audition. But anyway, getting off of that, overall, Cam Ward, I felt like they could have been better, but I also don't think it was as bad as it could have been for that reason that this could have been a schematic that could have had him really struggling in his first game, right? Like, the Jesse Minter defense healthy with his guys against the Titans offense, which is terrible schematically and has no good receivers, and the O-line is mediocre at best. All of those things combined into one, it should have been Cam Ward's worst game all year, in my opinion, honestly. I think that should have been really confusing for him. He should have thrown a couple of more picks than he did, and I mean, he already threw one, but maybe like a little bit more. Like, look, again, could have been better, but also not as bad as it could have been. I think that's a good summary of it. I would give it a C, maybe. Not great, but not terrible either. But hey, on the positive note, this was his first game since, I believe, week 2, week 3, somewhere around there, that Cam Ward has not thrown an interception. I think it was since week 2. So I think that's something that we can hang our hats on. But anyway, let's get into the positives, starting out with the defensive line. Obviously, D'Ernest Jones had a pretty good game. Jihad Ward, though, my gosh, 2.5 sacks, like, Jihad Ward was really solid in this game. And again, how much of this is really because the Titans' D-line just really dominated? Well, most of them, at least. There's one dude in the negatives, and we'll get to that. Like, how much of it is that this Tennessee's defensive line dominated compared to the Chargers' O-line just being completely destroyed? Like, I remember I actually was at the game. I had a Chargers fan sitting behind me, and I remember I overheard one of his conversations because a Titans fan brought him, and he was just like, man, that's like, he saw some dude go off the field with an injury, and he was like, man, that's like our second string tackle. We're going to the third string now. Like, and also Joe Alt getting hurt. Prayers up to Joe Alt, by the way, but he also had a season-ending injury, unfortunately for him. And Herbert was running for his life behind that O-line, right? Again, more rushing yards than I think we were expecting from Herbert, even for how bad the Titans' defense is whenever it comes to containing somewhat mobile quarterbacks. But anyway, again, I didn't think it was a bad game by the D-line. Obviously, I thought it was very good. Again, not as much to do with them as it is to do with the fact that, well, the O-line just really wasn't that good. But anyway, moving on, we got to talk about Chimere Dike and the special teams. he's going to be a beast. Like, he's going to be a beast somehow. I know that some people are like, oh, I don't really care for him as a receiver. That's fine. Whoa, that's fine. I get that. But him as a special teams player, that is absolutely ridiculous. Chimere Dike, whose name I'm just realizing I completely misspelled on my notes, that dude is absolutely amazing. He had the big punt return. He had some really nice kick returns in the game. Again, wish he could have gotten more involved. We'll get to that. But, like, just overall, I really liked Chimere Dike on that day. And just overall, I'm excited to see his future. I mean, there's not that much else to say. Special teams has been turned around. And Stan Fassel, I guess, and whoever the next head coach is, if he doesn't retain John Fassel, I'm not going to be too happy, quite frankly. I'm going to be very, very upset, at least for my standards, right? You're going to see some pretty angry versions of me later on in this episode, but still. Anyway, moving on, we got Cedric Gray as the last positive of this episode. Cedric Gray. Oh, man. In a season of dark, dark times, Cedric Gray has consistently been just a really fun player to watch. He had 11 tackles. He had a sack. I'm telling you, man, and honestly, I'm starting to understand why we're keeping Cody Barton on the roster. This is just a side note real quick. I'm understanding that because I think that it'll help Cedric Gray in the film room, that is. And I think that that's necessary because, dude, Cedric Gray is going to be a beast. He's been amazing this year, and I think that he's just going to continue to be absolutely awesome for the next couple of years. I hope that we get him an extension, and honestly, that would be a dude that if he were to leave under the Borgonzi, Brinker front office, I would be very disappointed, right? But, dude, Cedric Gray has been absolutely amazing. Look, I've been trying to tell people, look, Ran Carthon wasn't that good of a GM. Honestly, may have been worse than John Robinson because at least John Robinson had a vision of where the team needed to go. But the one thing that he was always good at, was drafting linebackers in the middle rounds. He did it in San Francisco, and he did it in Tennessee with Cedric Gray, and heck, even with James Williams, who I still think deserves a shot at the starting spot. I just want to see what it looks like. That's it. But again, just overall, really solid game from Cedric Gray, and I'm really excited to see him over the next couple of years. Okay, going into the negatives, we got to start out with the obvious one, coaching. Let's take a deep breath before we do this. Let's talk about this for a second, okay? Chimere Dike has been your most consistent, solid receiver as of lately. He has consistently, he got a touchdown back in a couple of weeks ago. He had 90 yards receiving, which for this roster is an absolute miracle, and for the scheme is an absolute miracle. He has been on fire lately. Absolutely amazing. And I was really excited to see him in this game. I was thinking, okay, maybe, Alec can get it together, which he didn't really, but he's not exactly a negative. Anyway, I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe he has his big breakout game here. People start recognizing him. Nope. We used him one time for one reception for 5 yards. That's not it, though. Our misusage of Chimere Dike, there was another rookie that got completely misused. That's Gunnar Helm. Look, okay, they used him in the blocking, give him that, but they did not let him go for receiving yards. That's ridiculous. He had a very small amount of routes ran, and he got the ball once. And you want to know what happened? He made an amazing catch on the one target that he had all day. The one target. Look, I get it. You're trying to get Chig Okonkwo's trade value up, and I 100% understand that. But you've got to let Gunnar Helm play. And it's just really, that one was really frustrating to me. But again, it's not the most frustrating thing of the entire day. We got to talk about the Wildcat. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. 3rd and 1. You run the Wildcat from midfield as the offense is starting to gain momentum. And what do you know? It goes for -1 yards. You lose that on the penalty, holding, which is ironic. It was a hold, and we still got -1 yards. It was 3rd and 11. That one didn't matter as much. The one that really bugged me. Okay, here's a whole series that bugged me, and this is what I was hinting at whenever I said I feel like Cam Ward could have had a better game. Cam was leading the best drive that he had led all day. He threw a great ball to Alec Ailmanor, who got it across midfield. Then he throws it down to get them about at like in the red zone. That is, you run the ball, you get it to like the 10 to 5 yard line. Okay, you run the ball on the first play. That's fine. You run a jet sweep on the second play. Sure, with Chimere DK, you're getting him involved. That's something that's nice to see. But then 3rd and goal, you're on the 1 yard line. All that you have to do is punch this in. Run a QB sneak. Heck, run it straight up the middle. I do not care. Run something normal. You run a wildcat on 3rd and 1. That's ridiculous. That's unacceptable for the Tennessee Titans. Look, I'm coming off as aggressive, and I'm sorry about that. But that is an unacceptable play call on 3rd and 1. 4th and 1, you run it straight up the middle, and you don't get the touchdown. Okay, look, I got that play call, right? I just wish that you would have done it a play earlier. The thing that also upset me is that this was Cam Ward's drive. This was his best drive of the day, and you give him one chance to actually throw it. It's just ridiculous. And then later on, you run the Wildcat again on 3rd and 2. You're down 27-17. Maybe you can get some life back into this team if you just get if you just get that first down, maybe you score a touchdown. Who knows? Then it's 24-27. The team has life again. You may go into overtime, for goodness sake. Like, you may get that stop. You may get the punt. Cam Ward leads a field goal drive, or heck, even a touchdown drive. Who knows what would have happened? But on 3rd and 2, you run a Wildcat play. Again, even after it's been constantly proven to you, this is a terrible idea. And you end up coming up short again. You kick the field goal. It's 20-27, and you lose the game because of that. And you throw a weird challenge flag later on, which in the moment I was thinking, okay, what do you have to lose? But looking back on it, that was a really bad challenge. Man, I think I've made it obvious how I felt about this. Yeah, the coaching was absolutely horrific in this game, but as aggressive as I have been against the coaching staff, I'm not all too upset about it. The reason I'm not all too upset about it is because whenever you look at this coaching malpractice, it leads the tank pretty well. And with the Jets trading for as many picks as they did, there is a reality where we get the first overall pick and we get a lot of those Jets picks. I just 100% believe that. They won't trade their own picks, but they may trade the Cowboys picks. They may trade the, what was the other team that they traded with? Oh, yeah. They may trade the Colts picks. That would be honestly so ironic if we ended up getting the Colts first round picks. I just think that would be funny. But, man, anyway, just like, I don't know what it is, man. Like, it was really bad coaching. I'm fine with it, though, because it just leads the tank. Mike McCoy, you haven't been a good head coach, but you are an amazing tank commander. Same goes for you, Bo Hardegree. Keep your engine marching, please, okay? And do bad enough to where you can lose to the Saints. Well, that's the only game that really matters on the schedule right now. Whenever you go play the Saints, you need, and I mean you need to lose to that team. If you do not lose to that team, then that means that you just lose your chance at the number 1 overall pick. Because we know the Jets either are not winning another game or they may win one more game. But whenever the Jets and the Titans have an even record, that means that the Jets automatically get the first overall pick. We need that first overall pick to get this rebuild just, going at a little bit of a faster pace. You know what I'm saying? Pace. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need. Anyway, coaching is a negative, but is also a positive at the same time because it is a tank command, and they did a pretty good job of tanking. But anyway, second one, Tony Pollard. It was just kind of a mediocre game. And most of that is just my lashing out against the coaching staff for making him run a Wildcat twice. Yeah, that's really all I got for Tony Pollard. Just kind of a mediocre game. Wish that he would have played better just to get trade stock up, and maybe he's not even a Titan today. And Tajay Spears has all the running back 1 reps to himself, which I have been dying to see since Derrick Henry left. Anyway, just not really that much to say. Unlike the coaching staff, not really a great game by Tony Pollard. And wrapping it up with the negatives, T'Vondre Sweat. I mean, I don't know what else to say about T-Sweat. Like, look, I was excited about him at first. Actually, he was doing really well his rookie season, but I feel like that he has gotten a little lazy. Some of those character concerns are starting to show up just a little bit with him, but I don't know. I think that he can still bounce back, and I think that he will end up okay in the end because I think that whoever comes in next is going to try and build a strong culture. And if you get good players behind that culture, then it leaves room for divas like Tavondre Sweat or like JBJ, who we also traded. And I could very well see an off-season trade with Tavondre Sweat, but like again, not the best game from him, but I'm hoping that he can get it back on track. Anyway, let's talk about the top 5 head coaching candidates. Oh man, I added one more honorable mention. If you've been following at all anything whenever it comes to sports, at least whenever it comes to the NFL world, you probably know who it is. But we'll just start out with 3 that have been on here consistently. Brian Flores, I would actually really be down for Brian Flores, especially if he can bring in Mike McDaniel or Brian Daboll, which may actually be a possibility. Heck, like I know that people have their problems with Brian Daboll, but I don't know. I think that he is a very good offensive coordinator, just a terrible head coach, honestly. But that's not the point. But Flores, I would be down for Flores, but suing the NFL, I have no idea how that's going to go, right? Then John Gruden. Yeah, I mean, similar thing there. He's suing the NFL, so probably not. And he's probably destined for college, which is, in my opinion, better for him. Just overall, I think that he is going to build an amazing football program somewhere, whether it's LSU, Arkansas, Penn State, probably not Penn State, but like LSU or Arkansas or Auburn, Florida, like wherever he goes, and I'm pretty confident it'll be in the SEC. I think that he's going to do really well in college. Heck, he may even go to Tennessee. Not because I want Heupel fired. I'm not one of those psycho Vols fans, but because, I don't know, I've been hearing some rumors about Heupel maybe getting like poached away by somebody. And with Gruden, I don't think we'd have to worry about that. Anyway, no, this isn't a Vols show. This is a Titans show. Let's get back into that. Okay. Joe Brady is my 3rd honorable mention. Again, really smart, young offensive mind that I do really like, but some of his inexperience at the NFL level, if I had to say, like not the fact that he just hasn't been around for a while, like because he has been around a decent amount, but it's because of the fact that his experiences outside of Josh Allen have not been that great with with the Carolina Panthers, who honestly I don't think that he was that bad in Carolina. I just think that Matt Rule was a complete doofus of an NFL head coach. That's really all I got for that. But again, like Joe Brady, man, he's fun, but I worry that he's just Brian Callahan again, and that's really it. And finally, as my last honorable mention, Kevin Stefanski. Look, it is starting to become more and more likely by the day that Kevin Stefanski gets fired by the Cleveland Browns. Whenever you give play calling over to somebody else, you do not do that as an offensive coach if you already had play calling duties, if your job isn't being threatened, right? So, I mean, like, that's really it. Like, he's probably going to get fired. I think that he's done some really good stuff in Cleveland that has been completely overshadowed by one of the worst trades in NFL history, which is why owners do actually matter. And look, here's the thing, right? Whenever Titans fans complain about Amy Adams-Strunk, I get it. She's annoying. Well, I understand what you have to say about Amy Adams-Strunk, right? Even if I do defend her a little bit, I understand where you're coming from. But just remember, she's not as much of a scumbag as Jimmy Haslam or Woody Harrelson. Or Woody Harrelson. That's an actor. Or Woody up in New York are. Just remember that whenever I talk about this. But I don't know. Like, I'd be interested in Kevin Stefanski. I worry about the comment that Vrabel made about him as a head coach about like whenever they ran out of trick plays, we were able to absolutely destroy them. Like, look, okay, I'm not trying to like fantasize over Vrabel and be like, oh, I wish he was still here. Please come back, Vrabel. But like, he is still a good head coach, and whenever he says something like that, probably means something. So just it's something to consider. But still, I would be interested. Anyway, top 5 head coaching candidates. Number 5, Josh Grizzard. Now, here's the thing: I put him at number 5 because, well, I think that he's very similar to Joe Brady. It's just that the difference is that I felt like that he was a big part. He's been a big part of the Tampa Bay offense for the past 2 years as the offensive coordinator and as the passing games coordinator. And I feel like that he has been big in helping Baker Mayfield take that like that huge leap that he has. Like, look, he was already really solid last year, but this year he's taking it to even another level. I think that is something that can be attested to coaching. And also, he comes from the Bucks offensive coordinator tree, so you really need to trust that. That is something that is very interesting to look at. Another honorable mention, that Bears offensive coordinator. He's 28, but that's really my only downside with him. I mean, he's working with Ben Johnson, and they're 5-3. And that will be one that I'll try to get into a little bit more, whether I put him at number 5 or I put him as an honorable mention next week, because we're not going to have that much else to talk about, because, well, it's a bye week. Anyway, Josh Grizzard, interesting coaching candidate, to say the least. Number 4, Robert Saleh. I really like Robert Saleh, right? But if it is true that Mike McDaniel is probably going to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins next year, if that rumor has any validity to it, then Robert Saleh's coaching stock definitely tanks for me, at least. Look, one of his problems was that, some of his offensive coordinator hirings weren't great. I mean, he was always going to be forced to hire Nathaniel Hackett. And I don't think Mike LaFleur was that bad as an offensive coordinator, but, you can't count on it, right? It's just, I don't know how to describe it. I worry about Robert Saleh without Mike McDaniel, right? But still, culture guy, tough son of a gun, right? He has a good energy about him, and I think that he would bring in some good culture things that the Titans so desperately need right now. But I don't know. I worry about Robert Saleh, but he's still in my top 5 for a reason. I think he would bring life back to this defense that desperately needs it, and I think that he still has the chance to hire a decent offensive coordinator. But anyway, number 3, Jesse Minter. The head coaching audition went pretty well for him over the weekend. He had that defense rolling. They were playing solid. Honestly, if that defense hadn't stepped up in the way that they had throughout that game, who knows what would have happened. Maybe the offense doesn't look as completely incompetent as it did. But again, Jesse Minter, great defensive mind. Whenever you're a defensive mind under Harbaugh, or you're a coordinator of some sorts under the Harbaughs, and your unit is playing that good, you got to have some validity to you, right? And whenever you're hired by Harbaugh in general, that's immediately plus 10 on the totem pole for head coaches, right? That's one I'm always going to be interested in. I don't know. He screams 15 years of stable coaching. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just there. I don't know. It's it. He has that it factor about him as a head coach. All right, number 2. I don't want to say I told y'all, but Klint Kubiak is my number 2, and everybody is raving about Mr. Klint Kubiak after the performance that his unit put up on Monday Night Football. Look, I'm just saying, I have raved about this dude for so long. Or not for so long, but I've been raving about this dude since week 1, since week 2. Early on in the season, I have been raving about how much I love this dude as an offensive coordinator. I think that he's really solid, and I think that he would be a really good offensive mind to bring into Tennessee. And trust me, people have wondered, what on earth am I talking about? The offense isn't that great and all this stuff. But after that Monday night game, I have seen people constantly talking about this guy as a head coaching candidate, not just for the Titans, but for other teams around the league. Now, look, I have him at number 2 because he would be a first-time head coach. But outside of that, I don't have that much else to complain about. I think that he is a really solid head coaching candidate, and I think that he will end up being one of the hottest head coaching candidates in the entire NFL come January. Anyway, my number 1, okay, it should be obvious. It's Mike McCarthy, right? He's a stable hire. He's an offensive mind. He has won everywhere he's been. Obviously some of that is attested to the talent that he's had. But hey, look at the Cowboys and the Cardinals. They didn't, excuse me, on the Klint Kubiak thing. That was a Sunday night game. But anyway, but he's won everywhere he's gone. I mean, look at the Cowboys. They just got trounced by the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Not a good look for you if you are, well, the Dallas Cowboys. Great look for Mike McCarthy, though, because I think that Mike McCarthy has that team win that football game. Now, obviously, he did lose that football game whenever they were starting Josh Dobbs, but hey, can you blame them? It's the Pastronaut, for goodness sake. And that was that weird year whenever the team was shockingly competitive with everybody, and they were always destined to win one. But anyway, getting off topic, Mike McCarthy is the best head coaching candidate in this cycle. He brings stability. I think he'll develop Cam Ward pretty well. Again, if you want to see last week's episode, you can find it on my page. But whenever you look at that episode, you see something that I specifically mentioned was the problems that Aaron Rodgers had were very similar to the problems that Cam Ward has had so far in his NFL career. And Mike McCarthy was able to develop those problems. So I think that he would be perfect to bring in to develop Cam Ward. Heck, he plays like an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, anybody who sees what his film is like and asks him, like, hey, who did you watch most growing up? You'll see that Aaron Rodgers is a pretty consistent person in all of that stuff. So, again, Mike McCarthy, I think that he would bring in a stable defensive coordinator. I think that a bonus to him is that he probably would bring Bones back, which would be amazing. Offensive coordinator, heck, I think that he may bring in a young hotshot of some sorts, not give up play calling duties, but let him learn how to do this stuff, stay under his wing. Heck, maybe in his last year while he is in Dallas, take the play calling duties and give them to him so that way he has the experience of doing that. And then you hire him as your next head coach after Mike McCarthy is done mentoring him and developing him into a decent enough head coach, right? That's the dream scenario, in my opinion, if you hire Mike McCarthy, but who knows? Anyway, that's it for today's episode. I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown if you want to go check those out. And I have a YouTube channel for anybody that is listening to this over podcasting. So, go check those out. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening at Thunder Radio. And that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.